Hey guys, welcome back to the Second Time Lucky Mining channel. In today's video, we are going to have a look at the GPU mining statistics for the month of May. If you like the GPU content, please like the video and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. It will help me out a great deal. But enough for sharing my channel, let's jump into the content. Now, can you believe it? It's already the end of May and it's halfway through 2023. Now, what I'm going to do in this video is the same that I do every single end of the month and have a look at the GPU mining statistics for the month of May. Now, May specifically in the GPU space has been a crazy month, like all months really. In crypto, we had profitability actually being high and then it tanked throughout the month. And it started to increase slightly towards the end of the month. The other big thing that happened in May is Bitmain came out and officially stated the prices of their Casper miners, so one of our GPU mineable coins, is about to be completely dead for GPU mining. Now, what I do see, and I quickly had a glimpse at the statistics, and there's still a couple of people on Casper. The other thing is, it turns out that Ice River was real. Red Panda Mining's ASIC has been running actually quite well, or at least it looks like that from my perspective. And they are starting to ship out those ASICs. I think it's the 6th of June. So we really only have another week or so left. Now, saying that, that is not going to hold us back. In today's video, we are going to have a look at the 4 things that we look at every single end of the month, and that is specifically what is the most popular coin that people are mining at the moment. We're going to have a look at what is the market share between AMD and Nvidia in terms of GPU mining. We're also going to have a look at what is the most popular GPU people are actually using, and that is both an Nvidia and an AMD stable. And then we're going to have a look at what is the mining software that people are typically using to mine at the moment. Now, talking about the disclaimers, and what we are going to have a look at is the HiveOS statistics, and statistics in general is never perfect, and in this case, well, we are going to have a look at the HiveOS statistics, and what that means is we are potentially ignoring people that are using different mining operating systems. So that is people using MMPOS and any other Linux-based operating system for mining specifically, and also the crazy people that is still using Windows to mine. So just take that into account. What I like to look at, and the reason why I do this, is it gives me an overall trend what people are migrating to. Yes, the numbers specifically is not going to be perfect. It's not every single miner out there, but when people are moving from one thing to another, you would see percentages change. And that's really what I'm looking for in the statistics. It's not the raw numbers, but looking for trends where people are moving to different mining software, potentially more hash rate, or potentially moving to different coins where it is potentially more profitable, and the same for GPU. So that's really why I like to look at these statistics. It's not for the raw numbers, but to spot the trends, what people are doing in the GPU mining space. Now, enough of me talking about it. Let's jump on the computer and I'll show you what the statistics are for the month of May.
Okay, so here we go on the computer. Now, I've got the HiveOS statistics page open, and I'll leave a link in the video description in case you wanted to go and track that for yourself. But looking at the most popular coins first, we can see here it's Casper at 16%, followed by Ethereum Classic, then Ironfish, then Nexa, then Raven, and then Radiant, and then Dynex a little bit lower, followed by Ergo and Zil. So it's still interesting, at least to me, that there's still a lot of people specifically on Casper. Now, if we flick over to my sheet where I track the changes, and let me just do that, we can actually see sort of what has happened and throughout the month here. And the big things again that stand out specifically for me here is the Casper hash rate, at least from a GPU perspective, has dropped quite significantly here. So you can see it was almost 20%, and the month before that it was almost 30%. So it's dropped down to 16%, and I expect this trend to continue over the month of June as the ASICs becomes more prevalent on the network and GPU miners switch to other things. Now, looking at this though, and looking at what else has happened here, is what I found interesting is the Radiant hash rate also dropped. So you can see here, it's almost dropped about more than what the Casper GPU miners move was. So it's quite interesting, at least for me. And looking at some of the other moves here, we can see some people that are moving off Zil and moving off Lithium, and then has spread over to a bunch of different things. So you can see Ergo managed to get a little bit of hash rate, Confluence, and DNX. So that's really where people has moved to. What I've added on this month is Pepe Pow here at the bottom, so we'll see what happens with this meme coin at least. Next up, looking at the GPU branch here, and you can see, at least when I look at tracking the statistics here, Nvidia has lost 1% and AMD has gained a share. Now, that is not really massive. The trend has really been 60-30 for the longest time since I've tracked it, and AMD has sort of lost market share. What I suspect that happened is some of these coins that are low power and very core intensive, so to mine Casper and Radeon comes to mind. The AMD cards, specifically the older AMD cards, are also efficient as long as the price is high. So what I suspect has happened this month, and again, once we look at the GPU statistics, and let me just flick over back to HiveOS here, scroll a little bit down. What I suspect what has happened is some of those older AMD GPUs has just been switched on. So I don't think it's necessarily a big thing, but it's still around the 70-30 split between AMD and Nvidia. Now, next up, let's have a look at the most popular GPUs, starting on Nvidia here. And what you will find is, surprise, surprise, the 3070 is still on top, followed by the 1660 Super and the 3060 Ti, and then the 2060, and then the 3080. So what you'll tend to find here is potentially the most efficient GPUs are still at the top, and we really didn't see any interesting moves here. Now, if I go back to my sheet where I track the changes, looking at the changes again for the last couple of months, it hasn't really been something interesting here. Now, what I did see happen is the bigger GPUs, that being the 3080s and 3090s and 3070 Ti's, has been switched on. So there's more of them actually on at the moment. And again, similar to what I mentioned earlier, what I suspect is happening is these core heavy algorithms that is low on power, especially when their price pumps, it becomes efficient, or at least it becomes profitable to switch on some of these higher wattage GPUs. And that's what I suspect has happened, and why we see the 3080 and 3090 and 3070 Ti actually gaining a bit of market share in terms of Nvidia GPUs actually mining. Now, jumping to AMD, and I'll just jump back to HiveOS, you can see here the GOAT is still on top here, the 580 at 25% market share, followed by the 5700 XT, followed by the 578 gig, the 6700 XT, and the 6600 8 gig model here. What you'll also find is still no 7000 series AMD GPUs, and that's because HiveOS doesn't support that now. But looking again at the trend, so if I just flick back to my sheet here, we really haven't seen any significant moves here. Again, what I found interesting is we've been seeing the trend downwards of the 580s for the last couple of months. However, it's actually started to increase again. And again, similar to what I've mentioned with the Nvidia high power GPU, some of these inefficient GPUs has started to be switched on. And again, that's just these core heavy algorithms that's gaining a lot of price, and hence it's actually become profitable to switch on some of these older or potentially inefficient GPUs. And that's sort of what we've seen here, where if you have a look and see at the changes that has made. But again, it's not big changes here. So generally speaking, I just think it's people that had their GPUs switched off. So I don't think it's massive purchases necessarily. Now, having a look at the mining software, and if I just flick back over to HiveOS and just scroll a little bit down, what is interesting here to find, the most popular mining software that people are using is still LOL Miner at around 22%, followed by Team Red Miner. And again, that's just all of these AMD GPUs. ASIC Miner I'm going to skip over, but G Miner, Rigel, T-Rex, and this is what I'm finding interesting, that T-Rex is still so high, followed by BZ Miner and SRB Miner and NB Miner. Now, if you have a look at the changes, and again, that's what I find interesting here, is the big changes really has been people getting off BZ Miner. So you can see here BZ Miner has lost half of what was on it really. So there's a big change where people moved off BZ Miner. Similarly, LOL Miner, people started moving off LOL Miner, and people have flocked to some of the other mining software here. And what I find interesting is people move to T-Rex. I can't remember seeing any specific changes on T-Rex. Granted, I haven't used it in a long time, but it's interesting to see people have moved off and moved to G Miner, T-Rex Miner, and a little bit of Phoenix Miner. And again, what I started to track here at the bottom is SRB Miner. Previously, I haven't used it, so I didn't really track it necessarily, but I'm putting it on the sheet and I'm going to track it for the next couple of months. But again, interesting to see the trends where people are getting off BZ Miner and getting off LOL Miner and moving to some of the other mining software.
That's it for this video, guys. If you've liked the video, please like the video and maybe even consider subscribing to the channel. If you didn't, please specify in the comments what you would like me to change. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.